Hey everyone, I'm Alicia from Music Blog Yeah, and I'm standing here with our buds from Mounties. How are y'all doing today?
Excellent, good, really good.
Now we're here at Riot Fest, and you just did an incredible performance. I mean, every time I see you, you get better and better. Incredible, yes. So I just wanted to ask, I know we had a lot of fun watching, but what songs are you enjoying playing the most? Which do you have the most fun?
Minimum effort.
Pretty respectable is my choice.
I'm a minimum effort guy, or make up your mind guy. Made up my mind guy.
Made up your mind about this question?
Yeah, I like those two songs. They're the hardest to play, and I nearly puke because it's so hard.
He does. Yeah.
It's just you got to play really hard.
You're a beast on drums. Like, I love watching you. You just attack them. It's great.
Thank you. It is about attacking. There's a certain amount of sanctioning of violence in rock and roll. It's important to lay a certain violent beating on the instrument. There's no room to be delicate.
We call it the drummeling is what he does.
Sounds like it could be like a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
The
It is
drummeling.
a horror movie. It is. It truly is.
Actually, he was just apologizing to me a few minutes ago for breaking one of my cymbals. I'm like,
This
it sounded good when you broke it. I don't know.
Well, being that we are at Riot Fest today, you know, it's called Riot Fest for a reason. So we wanted to ask, what's a very crazy thing to happen to you while playing live?
Sorry, a very what?
A very crazy thing to happen to you while playing live.
Well, when we were at Lackey, you guys were there too, and it was really crazy to be playing our faces off and to have Webster watching in the front row.
Yeah, that was
That's pretty out there, right?
Right before we went on, there was a big thunderstorm, and it cleared everyone out. So there was two guys with their shirts off that were doing this, like it's brand new, like they invented it. And then in front of the security gate was Emmanuel Lewis in a big cowboy hat.
And that's it. Nobody else. Nobody else was in the crowd at that point.
Yeah, nobody else was there. And he has grown as wide as he has, like he's grown equally in all directions. So he's just a perfect cube of human, and he's a beautiful specimen to.
He's wonderful.
Junior though, but he's cubic now. But I remember him. He looks pretty much the same. We got to be honest though. That was pretty weird.
Also, there was the time at the grocery store where Hawk called me a silly bum in line in front of, like, I was picking up all the groceries, and he was like, "Oh, come here, you silly bum," and everyone looked at us like we were a couple, and I just got a brief glimpse of what it would feel like to have Huxley as my boyfriend.
Why did you call him a silly bum?
Because he was being a silly bum. I don't know. I'm sort of physically. I feel like I'm built to carry heavy things, and that's just my metabolism. So if there's something heavy to carry, I tend to think, oh, it's my job, So it's like, oh, you silly bum, put it down. Let the beast of burden carry that thing.
Who's like that?
Those are big words in Vancouver, though. Like,
Silly bum. Oh yeah.
More so in my neighborhood, I think it's a lot worse than on Main Street.
Another Huxleyism would be dum-dum, which is another thing, which I've been starting to say, and it's embarrassing because nobody gets it except for Huxley and this camp, and they're like, why are you calling me a dum-dum? And I'm like, oh.
Like dum dum? Yeah.
You're a silly bum and a dum-dum.
I like dum bum and a dum dum. Which dum bum? Dum dum. Yeah. Well, my cats are dum bums, and sometimes they're dum dums. To me, the act of living in a state of watery commitment to nomenclature is where it's at. You should never commit to a name. You know what I mean? We name things, but then it's way funner to name them new things. Like having a name is a bore, but settling on a name means part of your you die, right? You should always be trying to give yourself a new name.
Which is why we're changing our name. I don't know if you knew this, but we're going to change
Dumb
it.
Bums. The hot and steady dumb bums.
Well, we have been following your Instagram feed, and we know that you're actually recording some new material. So what's this new material starting to sound like?
Starting to sound wicked. Well, we're always recording. That's what's kind of crazy. It's so we spent 2 weeks at my place this summer, 2 separate weeks in July. And I didn't know quite what we were doing, but these guys are hard workers. Inevitably, we were in the studio every day making something, even though I thought the plan was just to go swimming, but these guys like to work hard. So but the new record, it's funny because we got a pep talk about the new record the other day from our front of house guy out west, and he's like, it's got to be better than the last one. I'm like,
But that's what your brother said about
I
it's got to
know.
be good, or you can release it fast and it could be crappy, but if you wait a little while longer, it's got to be good. So we waited a little while longer. We have more pressure, but we don't care.
pressure's good. We're just buddies anyways. We're old men who are like, yeah, I think we're getting immune to pressure.
Yeah, totally immune.
Well, yeah, a little bit. Because we're not, I think that when you're younger, the whole idea is that there's a pressure of getting rich, right, or getting famous, or both, and that it weighs really heavy because if the people around you in the business think that they're going to be able to pay their bills off you, that there's a real feeling of it's crushing, and I think we all have had that. Probably you're going through that a little bit right now. Yeah, so it's a weird feeling when because there's always this mythology of like, oh, the business really fucked us. And it's like, well, I don't know. I was always a willing participant. I really wanted to win, and I wanted the people around me to feel good about stuff. And if it was like, all you need to do, Hawk, is just tighten up this chorus and do one more show. I was like, all right, let's do that. And I think now we're like,
I remember my accountant in Hot at Heat told me like, oh, you just got to make more money from your live shows. And I was like, oh, sick. I didn't even think about that. That's a sweet plan. Make more money from live shows. Okay, let me call.
Why don't you go to Europe? It's like, oh, we never thought of that.
Way to make money. Go to Europe.
But there's
That's
two
not
things.
expensive.
There's the music industry, and then there's actually making music. And everyone in the music industry, like, there's so many great people, but you can't think. You really owe it to yourself to not think about anything other than just being buddies and making tunes, and accept the fact that you're going to disappoint people, and just leave a trail of disappointment everywhere you go for the sake of your art.
I'm not entirely not with you, to be honest with you. I think after seeing Neil Young, I saw him twice in the last few years. I thought both times were terrible, and I thought, but I've never been given so much cause to think about a show, and to think like Neil's always fucking with us, right? And it's like, so the show that I keep talking about is his show because he took so many risks, too many for my liking. Like, it's like, why don't you just play Old Man? Everybody here wants to hear Old Man. Why do you have to do all of this experimental stuff no one likes and no one wants to hear? But he's earned the right to piss us all off, and in some ways, I think Neil Young has been deified because he's so unafraid to disappoint. I think there's something to that. So kids, work hard, stay in school, disappoint your fans, and
Embrace failure.
what?
Embrace failure.
Yeah. Oh,
Gotta fail a lot.
and what were we talking about earlier about the rock and roll business? Do what they tell you to do. It's gonna work. Do the show. Write that. Tighten up the hook.
Go to Europe.
Play Letterman. If you like that.
You're all accomplished songwriters, so when it comes to you actually recording, how do you decide who sings what when writing?
Chess matches.
Chess-
Yeah. And arm wrestling, but he always wins, so.
It's what ends up happening is there's a race to write the lyrics, and whoever's written the lyric tends to get to sing them. Like,
The way I remember it is slightly different, which is that we write songs with a bunch of different parts, and then we just pick like the ones that we like the best later. Like, I never feel it like there's a race. I'm always just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like we write jam, and then we all lay down a ton of vocals, and then later it's just like we just chop them.
Sometimes I pretend that I'm about to record a vocal. I have nothing, but I'll be like, okay, and then I'll pretend to do something, and then one will be like, whoa, I got a thing, and so it works really well.
That's a good move.
When you listen back to your tracks after you've recorded them, do you guys ever disagree in the studio? And if so, who usually wins?
We don't disagree.
we don't disagree now. All of us have had songs on the radio, and all of us have done fun things, and so it's not like, man, I need my name to be the one on the top, you know? Like, I don't think none of us are doing this for that reason. Like, we are filled with such authentic joy when we play together, and it's such a spiritual experience. I think it's kind of like all the other garbage, somebody else can worry about it, because we just want to goof off and play the show.
Well, no, that wraps everything up. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time.
We're proud of you and happy. And we're glad you're 19 now. So you're like,
Thank you.
yes.
Oh, yeah, wait. It's good.
Anytime you come through, I can now officially see Mounties.
You're watching a music blog, Yaz Mounties podcast every week. Check in same time.
Okay, ready?
I think we're out. So thanks to everyone at home for watching. I'm Elise from Music Blog, and you just watched our interview with Mounties.